Hi there, it's Polly here. Yes. Have Elephant will travel, in fact. Have Elephant will be travelling quite soon. And I'll keep you guys hinged on how that goes. Mr. Snoot says hi. So I'm going to show you an interesting game. This is by Perry Miniatures. Travel Battle. Now, this is supposed to be, as you see, complete tabletop wargame in a box. This is supposed to be the miniatures gaming equivalent of Travel Scrabble. So, it's worth having a look at, and it is a game worth having, I have to say. Now, so, the Perrys. The Perry brothers are the guys that did the original figure designs and so on for things like Warhammer. That's Perry Miniatures. That's those two guys. They went off and started their own company. Look up the Perry Miniatures website. Their historical miniatures are amazing. Photographs of their miniatures are what illustrated my Bushidan miniatures rules. Beautiful, beautiful. They do some interesting stuff. So on their website, you take a look. They do like the Great Paraguayan War, the War of the Triple Alliance, which is a fantastic. If you're an American Civil War kind of miniatures gamer, take a look at the War of the Triple Alliance. Way more entertaining. They do Korean troops from the samurai invasion of Korea. They do samurai stuff. They do American Civil War, Napoleonics. They do you know, all kinds of amazing things, and a lot of Napoleonics, and they're nice guys to boot. But they did this. Now, it's supposed to be a miniatures game that's a travel game. So, first things first, as you can see, this is not a heavy box, but it's a large box. So, on one level, that's a substantial fail for its stated intent. You could not carry this like onto an airplane, fold out your tray table and play it with a friend. You would also be hard put to play this in the back of a car. But you could definitely take it in your luggage and it weighs nothing, and you could just bring it out at a convention to play, or bring it out in a hotel room or carry it. It's slightly inconveniently large for what a true travel game should be, but, you know, kudos for giving it a shot. The game, however, is kind of neat. So look, it is everything in a box. So one flips open the box. So the first thing you'll find are the rules. Not much to them, as you can see. We'll go through those in a minute. Some packing material. You've got two plastic boards. Now, I have painted mine, but they're divided into squares. Ploughed fields. Now, you've got sort of tree tops which you can clip onto some of these areas and turn them into woods, or you could just leave them as enclosures. Roads, hilltops, villages and farms. There's a couple of extra houses on the sprues here that you can put if you wish. There is a second board in here as well, which, as you can see, is much the same. In that it has fields, it's got wooded sections if you wish, it's got some built up areas and houses, hills, etc. And as you can see, it's all scored into squares. Now, these come with 8mm troops. So you get two sprues of blue. They have, I don't know if you can see, they have infantry. You can see they have cavalry. They have generals. You get 3 generals. They have artillery pieces. So you get 2 sets. One set is blue, one set is red. Now you can paint these, and there are painting instructions. But so this isn't play from the box. You're going to have to cut these little devils out. These are, I've removed some. These had houses and trees and some, but you can see the rest are bases. These are bases for generals. These are bases for artillery, cavalry, infantry. It's not play from the box because you have to cut these things from the sprues and you must glue them onto the bases for them to be usable. So there is prep required to play, and you have to assemble these. You don't have to paint them, of course. I have, because, you know, I'm that person. I just haven't painted the figures yet because I haven't had to. It comes also with 2d6 for the blue side and 2d6 for the red side. When you're playing a game, you dice off. Whoever gets the highest score chooses one of those two game boards. There is, on the one side of the board, it actually has numbers written on the board. He then rolls a dice, and that tells him which side of that board is facing him, and the other person puts their board connecting to one side of that. And so this is how you kind of create your gaming table. It's fairly simple. And you set up your troops on the row of squares facing you. Both sides are identical. They have the same number of infantry, guns and artillery. You split your troops however you wish into 3 brigades. Each brigade has a general, and a unit can only move if it can trace direct contact to a general. Now you may move diagonally or straight forward or straight back or sideways, so you can move into any squares around you. But you can only move if you are touching a general, the general of your brigade. So you could have sort of some scattered guys, and a general could kind of like form a bridge between 2 different groups and so on. If you have units that are widowed, you know, they don't have a general directly attached, they just don't move. But they can still fire and defend themselves, they just can't move. So you can have artillery sitting by itself, blazing away. It doesn't need a general there to hold its hand. It can do its thing, you know, if you wanted to take him and boldly lead the cavalry off or something. So how you organise things is up to you. Infantry move a square, cavalry move 2 squares. There are infantry, guard infantry, cavalry, heavy cavalry, artillery, and generals. So all you're doing in the game, it is very, very simple. Once you get going, you roll the dice to see who moves first. Player 1 moves their units. Player 1 fires their artillery if it's in range and rolls for effect. Player 1 fights if you're in a if you're in a square touching an enemy, and you work out the results. Player 1 rolls any rallies that they have to roll. Player 2 then does the same, and you just, so it's a you go, I go system. When you fight, you're rolling a d6 for each unit that's in the fight, and you can gang up. So if you have 2 units in squares facing each other, but you've also got one diagonally, you can fight diagonally into the other square, so you could have 2 units fighting one. Everyone involved in the fight rolls a d6, and then you just compare the results. So whoever beats the other person's kind of won that combat, and it's pretty damn simple. If you have got tied results, then you will stick and do nothing. Where do we go? If the difference is 1, then the losing player moves one of the units in that they've got in the combat back 1 square, and you turn them around to face the back of the table. That doesn't really matter. It's just to show that you've been driven back. And that will also push back any units that are behind it. And the next unit that's turned around next unit, it can only turn around. It can't move or fire. So in other words, it's in some kind of, it's in disorder and disarray. You're reordering the troops. If the difference is 2, the loser moves its fighting unit back to the board edge closest to its brigadier, and then at the end of the round it rolls a rally dice to see if it comes back into the fight. And if it doesn't make its rally roll, you remove them from play. If the difference is 3, then the loser is just removed from play. Some units get to roll twice. Infantry get to roll twice. And guard infantry get to roll twice and take the best. Heavy cavalry get to roll twice and take the best, but there are also other circumstances. So infantry, in its move, can declare that it is forming square, which protects it from cavalry. You move it, you position it diagonally in its square, that just tells you it's in square. It will roll 2 dice against any cavalry that try and attack it. However, if artillery fires on it, then it will gain a bonus, and if infantry attack it, they will roll an extra dice. Artillery, so artillery can fire at up to 6. You have to roll to hit. Your roll to hit is the number of squares away. So if they're 6 squares away, you have to roll a 6 or higher on 1 dice to hit. If they're 5 away, 5 or 6. 4 away, 4, 5 or 6, etc. If they are 1 square away, then you are actually in physical combat with them. You go to the physical combat rules, because yes, you are automatically hitting, but they might overrun you. Effective artillery, so once you've hit someone, you roll a dice. There's a negative to the dice if your target is in cover, like in one of those farm buildings or is in woods. And 1, 2 or 3, your target just shrugs it off. On a 4, your unit doesn't move next turn, you turn it around. On a 5, it goes back to the board edge and you try and rally it. On a 6, it disappears. Brigadiers, they don't fight. If something comes into their square, they automatically move away from it. There are some circumstances in which there are bonuses. So where are we? Infantry units that are in a built-up area will roll an additional dice if they're defending. Cavalry fighting only infantry who are not in a square formation get an additional dice. Infantry in square get a bonus against cavalry. Obviously, infantry not in square fighting infantry. If an enemy unit attempts to move into a square with a brigadier, the brigadier cannot fight. It's moved out of the way. Okay. So the rallying roll, it's basically roll the dice, 4, 5, 6, the unit rallies. And you win if you take out 2 of your opponent's brigades. So if you remove all of the guys, the troops, not the brigadiers. So this is a very, very, very simple set of rules, as you can see. It doesn't take that long to play. It probably takes about half an hour or so to play. And of course, setup is really simple. This is exactly what the designers wanted. They wanted this simple game on these simple boards that you could just pull out and play anywhere with these 8mm figures. The figures aren't brilliantly detailed because it's not that kind of game, but they paint up all right. This gives you a game. All right, so it's a portable game. Is it a good game? Well, it's a simple one. I've had some friends who have had some pretty good times playing this. I've played it once or twice and it's all right. It's all right. I find it very, very simple, but not a bad introductory game for new players, again. My honest assessment that as a portable game, it's a little bit too big, and indeed, I think this box could have been made. You saw, you can see the interior space has been occupied fairly well, but I think you could have dropped the width of it by around about 4 inches by changing the way the dice trays were stored and so on. So that would have, cut it down from, hey, this wide to, slightly less. But it's the game boards is the thing. Had I been designing it, I would have used way smaller, more modular game boards, like palm of my hand size game boards, given you a stack of these tiles and allowed you to arrange them how you wish. But I think that would have substantially shrunk this box down, because really, if it's going to be a travel game, I would want that box half that thin. That's my only real complaint about a game that has done what it set out to do and be a very simple thing that can just be picked up and, well, not picked up and played. This, but you know, apart from that, yeah, it's a very simple game you can just take with you. It weighs nothing, absolutely nothing. As you can see, it's just a couple of figures and boards in it. There are players for this that have modified it. There are some modified rules that you can find on the Facebook pages for this. Some people have dicked around. Some people have dicked about making American Civil War versions essentially the same. And of course you could substitute any 6mm troops for the ones in there if you wish. And indeed you could use more sophisticated rules systems. So you could use something like To the Strongest or something as a basis for doing your own games on it. It is nice having a portable square board like that. But anyway, a travel Napoleonic game. Not a bad thing to sling in your bag if you're headed to a convention, definitely, because it always gives you a little miniatures war game to play at the drop of a hat that you can explain to someone almost instantly. Roll a d6, highest guy wins. The amount by which in any given combat you've exceeded the other guy's dice rolls is how well you've won. You're either going to drive him back so he can't move or shoot next turn, you're going to send him running for his board edge, in which case he's got a 50-50 chance of rallying and coming back, or you overran him and he's taken off. And you know, there are enough little bits of terrain there, the villages and things. The roads, you know, like if you start and finish on a road you get an extra square to your move. The woods help shelter you from artillery, and also obviously block line of sight for artillery. These sorts of things. The artillery cannot both move and shoot. The cavalry moves quite swiftly. It is pretty unlikely to shift infantry and square, but can overrun infantry that aren't. Your solitary unit of heavy cavalry might be able to get through infantry and square, but you might want to hold that back for clearing out the other guy's cavalry. These little things will turn the game into, you know, a mighty contest of super brains as you both strive to prove that you, je suis Napoleon. Look, I think it's a good game. I'm glad to have it in my collection. It's nice to have around. The Perry's website is definitely worth taking a look at. If you haven't looked at it before, it's just it's got the most astonishing 28mm miniatures on it. What do they do? Sedan Wars, Napoleonics, War of the Triple Alliance. They do Korean and Samurai, and they just do the most amazing stuff. They're really nice guys to deal with. And I am looking forward to seeing a lot more from them in the future. They're nice guys. Anyway, Mr. Shoots and I will hopefully see you around the games table sometime. Until then, look after yourselves, and remember, we are here both to play games and have fun. Cheers everybody, bye!